My name's Bruce Pollack Johnson. I'm a member at Restoration, and thank you for inviting me to be here with you this morning. In February of 2013, you here at Germantown hosted a workshop by Paula Cole-Jones on leadership training for multicultural ministries, and you were kind enough to invite me to be part of it. In that workshop, Paula talked about 7 principles culture as opposed to beloved community culture. She correctly observed that many UUs believe they can uphold the 7 principles without delving to the deeper level of beloved community, which means inclusive and respectful working together with people of all cultures, and without trying to deal with a systemic level of racism and other oppressions. That gave me the idea that we need an 8th principle for UUism, to affirm our commitment to this deeper level of work as a movement. I put together some wording and refined it with Paula and a post-Jubilee anti-racism monthly support group, including many people here in the room today. Here is what we came up with. We affirm and promote the following 8th principle, the standard beginning: journeying towards spiritual wholeness by building a diverse, multicultural, beloved community that accountably dismantles racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. At a congregational meeting in October of 2013, Restoration added the wording of this 8th principle into our congregational covenant. But at that time, we weren't yet ready to recommend it for inclusion as an 8th principle for the UUA as a whole. As you're probably aware, the UUA has just gone through a crisis related to hiring practices, especially related to whites being hired over highly qualified Latinx candidates, resulting in the resignation of the UUA president. In response to this crisis, Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism, acronym BLUE, endorsed the 8th principle with 3 words added as follows: journeying toward spiritual wholeness by building a diverse, multicultural, beloved community that, by our actions, accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. BLUE's main point is that the UUA voted in 1992 and 1997 at General Assembly, or GA, to commit to intentionally becoming a multicultural and anti-racist institution. Initially, excellent progress was made, with programs including the Journey Toward Wholeness, the Jubilee anti-racism training workshops, process evaluation at meetings, and a multicultural consulting service, among other things. In the early 2000s, funding and support for this work began to decline. The recent hiring crisis is not surprising in light of this decreasing support and lost focus. BLUE is holding all of us accountable to that commitment and expressing disappointment that the 8th principle has not already been supported and midwifed by UUA leadership. Allies for Racial Equity, or ARE, the UU White Ally Group, has supported BLUE and also endorses the 8th principle. Paula and I are working with these groups to get it discussed and adopted in individual congregations and in the UUA as a whole. The online resources for planning the white supremacy teach-in today and last week include the BLUE endorsement of the 8th principle. So this is being talked about by hundreds of congregations today. Restoration will be voting at a congregational meeting today in just about an hour or two to formally adopt a version of the 8th principle, possibly with our own wording for ourselves as an individual congregation. And we're also going to vote on whether we want to recommend it to the UUA, the version that BLUE has endorsed. That it be added to the UUA's existing 7 principles as soon as possible, which is likely to be to introduce it at least at the General Assembly in 2018. It's too late to do that for this year. If Germantown would like to be part of that process, we can talk. However, the 8th principle is really just the beginning of action, rather than the ultimate goal. It should lead to restoring funding and support for anti-racism trainings for any UUs who want it, and other programs of the late 90s, as well as starting an anti-racism version of the Welcoming Congregation program that was so effective for LGBTQ awareness and progress. Many people of color have been attracted by the values and potential and theology of UUism, but their souls have been repeatedly wounded by whiteness of our culture. Let's make our actions match our values. I want to be part of a UU movement that feeds them. That would be spiritual wholeness for me. How about you?